Hey everybody, Bob Chick along with David Bay. We're here with my Bob Parker microphone.
I think it's fancy.
Hey, we're in Canada. You know, everything's big and cold here, buddy, but fancy dancy. Hey, we're just wrapping things up here on the Toronto stage, David. And we've got some results and, of course, some critique.
Yeah, you know, it's a good show. We still have some divisions that are doing finals tomorrow. We have our wheelchair, men's physique, and women's physique coming up tomorrow. I believe that starts at 9:15 or 9:30. So we have to find out our winners there yet, but we do have the results from most of the divisions, including our men's open. Might as well start with that. Brandon Curry, kind of the pre-show favorite, looking at the list. There's no way to avoid it. Brandon was off.
Right.
Johnny was off. Fred was off. There was only a handful of guys who were on. That being said, from an aesthetics and a size standpoint, even an off Brandon still beats this crowd. I think it was a fair call for first.
Well, interestingly, now, Johnny, I think, was off when they came out. Now, we have an interesting scenario here in Toronto where the prejudging and the finals are only about 2 hours apart on the same stage. Johnny was sweating buckets when he came out here for prejudging, but 2 hours later, it looked like he sweated all out. I thought he looked a whole lot sharper tonight. I thought it was fairly close tonight. How'd you see it from the pit, though?
I thought Brandon still had him tonight. I think Brandon's condition was a little bit better than Johnny's, but yeah, I did notice that prejudging Johnny was sweating quite a bit. So
Profusely.
Yeah.
Fun to use that word.
So the rest of the top five, again, this was a show of, I had said online, of its ifs and buts. If Freddie Smalls had shown up in shape, he could have walked away. Ian Valier, he was, probably the only guy to really bring it as far as conditioning and everything else, not carrying the amount of size that the top 3 or 4 guys had, top 4 guys. Ibrahim
Fahim looks sharp. I think muscular up top. Looks like he needs a little bit of legs, though, to match that tremendous upper body.
Yeah, he was real good up top. Legs were a little light, and his quads didn't seem to have quite the same detail as his upper body had. So he
much improved over the Olympia, though.
Yeah, he looked respectable at the Olympia, and a deep lineup improved. One of those guys that I definitely got to look for in the future.
Very good. 212, man. How's it looking there? The local boy does good. Boy, this crowd was going absolutely crazy for Zane Watson.
It's pretty rare that you see people go this nuts at some of these shows, minus the Olympia and the Arnold, where you really get a lot of the fans coming in. Zane had a huge crowd here last year. He actually did the Open here last year, didn't fare so well.
That's right, yeah.
Decided to drop down to the 212. From the second he came out at prejudging this morning, it was pretty clear that he was going to be a front runner.
And he looked big in that lineup. He was a big boy, and he was in condition, probably the best conditioned guy out of the class. But, it's nice. Rarely do you see a local guy who actually can win the show, but great move moving down to the 212, and now he's going to the Olympia.
Yeah, for a local guy who isn't necessarily a big name in the IFBB yet, for him to get Olympia qualification is huge for him. I talked to him backstage. He said he's absolutely going, which guys should when they qualify for the Olympia. Yeah. I would make an argument, and you can't ever really say until you see guys standing next to each other, and that was kind of the same thing in the 212 class. By himself, I think Sean Clarita smokes everybody at the show, but you put him next to the other guys, he gets outsized. I would make an argument that if you put the 212 winner in the men's open, he makes a good run for a win there based on conditioning and size. Now again, you put him next to Brandon, he might get out-muscled quite a bit, and then you're like, not so much, but it would have been interesting.
Yeah, it definitely would have been interesting, and it was interesting. His father in attendance, Mike Watson. I remember Mike from the old days in the bodybuilding magazines and all that. Mike himself was a great bodybuilder, so definitely pro bodybuilding running good in the Watson family. So congratulations to Zane. We'll see him in Vegas on the Olympia stage. What other you got for winners?
Oh, well, we had our bikini class, Dana Malaton. I believe this was her first IFBB win.
First win for Dana, man. My buddy out, another New Yorker. So good for, what? And she's been a perennial, Dave. I'm talking, fourth place, third place, fourth place, third place. So this is her first win, and she was just moved beyond tears and happy to be going back. She got to the Olympia the last year or two, but she had to point her way. They were doing 100 shows. So
yeah, there was another surprise for me. This Cynthia Benoit, I'm assuming from Canada, Benoit is the correct pronunciation, not Benoit. She looks fantastic. She came out at prejudging, and I'm like, that girl, I've never seen her before. And we had talked about that in the preview video. Sometimes when you see these lineups and you're like, well, I don't recognize any of these names, it's nice because you get somebody that comes out, really surprises you. Cynthia looked absolutely fantastic, and our third place finisher, Jessica Renee, we've seen her a few times before. She looked great as well.
How about, speaking of looking great, how about Jennifer Strobo? four-time winner here in a row in Toronto. Toronto certainly good for her.
And back-to-back weeks in a row. She was just down in Puerto Rico last Sunday. So, and that's hard. I think people take for granted how difficult it can be to be spending that much time on airplanes, not just bouncing around the United States, but Puerto Rico, Canada. So congrats to her, back to the Olympia again.
Well, Jen Stroba, I believe she's probably going to be shutting it down before the Olympia now with 2 back-to-back wins. Nothing more to be gained there. What else do we have, David? Fitness. Don't forget the fitness. Another local doing good.
Rael Graber, when we looked at the lineup, she jumped out as a clear favorite. She was. You know, these fitness routines where you see these girls, every one of the girls that comes out, it's impressive. All of them, from an athletic standpoint, flexibility, strength. But at a show like this where you have a big name, it really stands out why she's the winner. You know, with the routines tonight and stuff, not something we can post, unfortunately, to the whole video rights thing. But if you guys had a chance to see the routines, you would see that she really sets herself apart from the rest of this group, and it's a much-deserved win.
And rounding it out in female bodybuilding, it was the Thunder from Down Under, Christine Enval with the big win. And how about those legs?
I was standing next to Adina at check-ins, and she walked by, and she had a pair of these like spandex pants on, and her calves, I mean, they were absolutely enormous. So to see calves like that on any bodybuilder is impressive. On a woman, it was nuts. You know, I wish the men in the men's open would have shown up with the same conditioning the women do. I mean, you know, for as much as, you know, we talk about the direction that women's bodybuilding is headed in, I will give it to them that these girls showed up in shape. 2 of the top 3 girls, this Jana Bendova, I've never seen her, never heard of her before. Her conditioning was crazy. This Vera Milakova from the Czech Republic.
Both of them from the Czech Republic. So the Czechs represent here. My buddy Martin from the Prague Pro, not here. He was supposed to be here. He would have been proud and loud out there waving that flag.
Yeah, Martin's a character, and I'm sure he would have loved to have seen it. But it's a matter of respect for these girls, too. I mean, regardless of what you think about the division, where it's headed, it's going to be here or not. You have to give respect for anybody that shows up in that type of condition. And these girls were conditioned. And your winner, Christine Enval, brought more size than the other 2 girls, but the same crazy conditioning. So a really good win for her. Nothing but respect for the conditioning and the size she brought to the stage.
Well, David, day 2 tomorrow, Sunday, over at the Expo. We got 3 classes to finish off: men's physique, women's physique, and, of course, our wheelchair pros. So half a day for us tomorrow, but what a great day for Ron Hachey and the crew out there. That place was absolutely packed up there today at the Expo, and all the events well attended. So congratulations to them. That's going to wrap things up here in Toronto. For David Bay, I'm Bob Chick, signing off.